Hello, and thank you for joining us on Hello Mayor. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman, and I am so delighted to be joined by our newly elected Mayor of Boulder City, Mayor Joe Hardy, who was sworn into office by his son, Judge Joe Hardy. From 1999 to 2022, Mayor Hardy previously served as a Boulder City Council Member, as a Nevada State Assemblyman, and as a Senator. Mayor Hardy, we are so excited to have you here with us today. And so, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Mayor.
Well, and I know the drive down was just beautiful and smooth because we aren't packed and it's not a weekend. So thank you for coming on down.
Thank you.
You know, many of our people that have moved to town recently really don't know the history of our community and certainly don't know how did Boulder City come to be. So before we go into the list of questions I have for you, could you tell everybody a little bit about the history of Boulder City?
Well, Boulder City started with the dam, or building Hoover Dam. Then it was called Boulder Dam when they first got it done, but it was 1931. And Boulder City was where people lived and in their unair-conditioned places in order to be able to work at the dam. So a lot of people came to Boulder City and Las Vegas in order to get out of the Depression. And they were good jobs, and they came and they stayed, and that's where Boulder City all started.
So
Uphill.
Really for the worker, I mean really
it
for
was
the
all
work
about
people.
the worker.
And so many of them I know, a few of them who ended up living here had come down from building in San Francisco, the huge San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge.
It was all an engineering and a construction project that literally was miraculous in how they did it. And people now, when you go now to see the dam, one of the other engineering feats is the bridge. And so you have an option to see this marvelous, wonderful dam, and then you look up and you see this marvelous bridge. Truly a historic on both ends back in the 1930s and in the early 2000s.
And then I know somewhere in the mid-40s, the name from Boulder Dam became Hoover Dam.
Correct.
And the initial residents, though, where did that come from? Congress, or how did it happen? No alcohol, no gaming?
It was a federal reservation.
Oh.
So it wasn't actually a city, a technical city, until about 1959, 57, 59. It made that transition into a city. So it was a federal reservation. You had to show your ID in order to get in. There was a sentinel place, much like Nellis Air Force Base. If you want to get on the base, you have to show your ID, you have to be there for a reason. So it was pretty strict. And there was no beer joint. And the census, fascinatingly enough, this last census, we were short about 150 people from having 15,000 people living in Boulder City. Now, and you had to have 5,000 people in order to be worth one, what you used to call a beer joint, or now a lounge. So we were short, so Governor Sisolak found us 150 people, and so we have 3 taverns now, still.
Oh my gosh, but no casino, no gaming.
No casinos, no gaming.
And also a little bit of a constraint from the population and residents, small or no growth or little growth?
It's slow growth, so there's a stipulation of how many homes, for instance, you can build if you're a developer, or how many homes totally you can have. So when we moved to Boulder City in 1982, 12,500 people, and now it's, as I said, just over 15,000.
Well, see that. I just learned something. I thought you were born and raised in Boulder City. Tell us a little bit about your background. You heard, of course, he's been in the legislature a number of years. Obviously, you are Dr. Joe Hardy. So let's go back. You weren't, I know, as young and handsome as you are, 1981, you just said you were in Boulder City and moved there. So let's go backwards.
You're very smooth, Mayor. Thank you. So yes, I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada.
Oh.
That was a long time ago.
And your parents doing what, that they were in Reno rather than
My
here?
dad was in construction. When I was going to being raised, my mom taught school and eventually worked on her master's and then worked on her PhD. Never got her PhD, but when when I was a freshman at UNR, my dad was a sophomore, and my mom was being a professor type at UNR in child development, family relations. That's why I'm so well developed.
I love it. So what, now, who decided you were going to go into medicine? And where'd you do that?
Well, I came to my realization, my dad was in construction, so
Right.
he wanted me to be an architect, but I couldn't draw.
Oh, that helps.
So I liked people and I liked science, and it was a very natural thing for me to go into medicine. And I remember the first surgery I saw when I was 14 years old at UNR in the Department of Ag was a C-section on a cow.
Oh, how exciting.
And it was fascinating because they did all the wires and catheters and gizmos to find out how the circulation changed from the time the calf was delivered and then changed over for the shunting of the blood and the respiratory changes that happened
And you were
at that time.
hooked.
And so it was kind of a natural thing. And in fact, I did cancer research at UNR when I was, I guess it was after my 9th grade year, and that consisted of cleaning the mice cages and putting them up on the roof to see if they got cancer, and sure enough they did. And when I applied to medical school, I needed 3 letters of recommendation, so I called up the cancer researcher that was actually doing the research, and I said, you know, could you write me a letter? And he said, well, I don't think you're going to need it. I'm the dean of admissions this year.
Oh,
So I got into medical school.
boy, were you born under
Yeah,
the right
it was
stars,
great,
let
yeah.
me tell you. All right, so fast forward, here we are. You probably had licensed everything. What brought you down here in 81?
82.
82,
And okay, you want the true story.
yes.
I always wanted to live in St. George, Utah.
That's a cute
it's
town.
Beautiful place, had everything that I wanted
Beautiful.
to be near. And we were in medical school with people that were in medical school at UNR. And then I transferred to Washington University in St. Louis to
Ooh,
graduate.
You have to be very smart to be there.
And then I went into residency in Phoenix, and the people that I knew in residency, the people I knew in medical school were out ahead of me because I had 3 years in the Air Force.
Oh,
So we literally drove through from South Dakota, where I was in the Air Force, down through Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, California, and everywhere we went, we stopped and visited with people that I knew that I could go into practice with. So we came to
general practice, right?
family practice. So I specialized in family practice in residency. And we were driving out of St. George, and my wife looked at me and she said, we're not supposed to be in St. George. I said, I know. And she said, we're supposed to be in Boulder City. I said, yeah, I know. She said, well, how long have you known? I said, about a month. And so her answer to prayer was the same answer that I got, separately and distinctly. And we moved to Boulder City in 1982. We were there not even 2 months, and they called me to be a bishop. And I knew
wow.
nobody. And so that's where I've been ever since, 40 years, and love the people, love the town, and just thoroughly enjoy Southern Nevada every bit as much as I love the whole state of Nevada.
Well, here all these years later, and you said 1982, and here we are 40 years later.
Literally.
Why at this time did you choose to run for mayor?
You make a decision to do something and it colors other decisions.
Right.
So when I ran for city council back in '99 in Boulder City,
okay.
so I was on the city council, and then 2002 came, and I realized that the 2003 session was going to be a pivotal session for the state of Nevada. So I ran for the assembly. I won that race.
And relinquishing your seat on council or continuing on?
Oh, that was a problem because I had an agenda that I wanted to do things for my role as a city council person. And the quirk in Nevada Constitution is the day after you run for the assembly or the Senate, you are in. The day after the election's over, you're in. You don't have to be sworn in.
Oh,
So
my.
I couldn't hold the city council position at the same time I was in the assembly.
Wow.
So they called me up and said, "You're no longer a city council person."
Oh, my
And
heavens.
so now I'm in the assembly, and then I did that for a few terms, and then I ran for the Senate in 2010, and then I'm technically termed out. So my wife is thrilled when I'm busy, and I
I
said,
understand that. So how many years you
Oh.
married?
40 years, or in Boulder City, 50 years we've been married this year.
Unbelievable. Congratulations. We have you beat by 10. All right, now let's talk. I know there's an issue, a water issue,
Yes.
that you've been in the press recently, and all of us are being told conservation, conservation. We know California, the spigot's on full blast, and because you're so familiar with everything. Tell us your position, if you could, and then a little bit about the solar panels that are Boulder City. It's such a beautiful community, and every first Saturday in October, the wonderful art show you have, the schools are superior, and there's so much community heart. But tell us a little bit about the water issue.
The rain comes down, and
He's terrific.
and the water goes into a lake or a reservoir in this case, and then it goes downstream through a turbine and it creates energy. So the potential energy that you have if your water's this high is more potential energy than if the water's this high. You now are in a drought, and so with the lake going down, you're getting less energy coming out of the bottom of the dam
Right.
to feed California, Nevada, and part of the grid for the whole Southwest.
Right.
And so everything that we do talking about water also talks about energy. I think how you made that nexus. Boulder City has probably more renewable energy in the boundaries of Boulder City than anywhere else because of all the solar and the hydro that
Right.
all comes through those substations and stations through Boulder City. So there's a lot of electricity that comes there. We've known that we had to be prepared for this, and if I could give praises to Pat Mulroy, I would do it up and down with the understanding and the vision that the Water Authority had under her direction, and now John Ensmingers. We know that we are on the right track to do what we did. The third straw was huge. So that's meant, it's basically underneath the bottom of the lake where you now can take water. So we're not going to run out of water as long as there's water in the Colorado River, but we will decrease our energy production, and we will be nervous about where we're going to get our water. So we're doing all the things that everybody else is doing. I remember I asked recently, I said, so if we already got some water credits for taking out turf, we're going to do that again, is that correct? And they said, yes, we're going to do it again. So we did, Jill and I did that turf removal in our front yard and our backyard. We probably took out 40%, maybe even more than that, of our turf back in the day when they first did that. And it's the responsible thing to do, at the same time keeping your yard looking like it's cultured in
Right,
some way.
Right.
So I think it's a rational thing that we're trying to do. We're going
But
to.
you're doing some siphoning. You want to pursue piping into
Oh,
Henderson.
yeah. If you look at the return flow credits, anything that we flush or goes down the drain in the Las Vegas Valley
Can be
is
recycled,
recycled.
repurposed. And I know that's what we've been working
Yes,
for all
it's
this time.
huge.
We too replaced our turf. At that time, I think they were giving you help by paying for every square yard that you were taking out, which I think still goes on. And I know I admonished all of our visitors and children in the house, when you brush your teeth, cut back on letting the water run, and John Ensminger said that doesn't matter because you're
It just goes right
recycling.
down, yeah.
Another issue that I think is fascinating, what was your feeling and looking to the future with the I-11? And what was that? For those of you who don't know, you used to go down Boulder Highway to get into Boulder City and then over and into the dam, but
Well, I have to say that I started in the assembly working on that concept in my first term in the assembly.
connection.
So I looked at the concept of a design build concept that would be preparatory to getting a road around Boulder City or a I-11 to be named I-11 later. Well, I got the usual flack that you get when you say you're going to build a road around my town and business is going to die and Radiator Springs, like the movie, is we're all going to dry up. And I said, I don't think it will do that. Right now, we were having huge truck traffic, and you couldn't get in and out of Boulder City. So we worked and
that
we
was
worked.
the other side of the coin, because
Yes.
I know from everything that exists today, there's always people on this side and then others on the other side. So what I had heard over the years since we came here in '64, as traffic increased, some of the residents said, we want that sent sideways. We do not want them in our community. But on the other hand, you were seeing the positive effect of bypassing it, not as a answer to those that don't want growth, but to get traffic out, the heavy traffic out of the city.
I agree. I mean, the heavy traffic was a major
That was the big
challenge.
problem.
But quite frankly, Las Vegas is growing. And when it grows, you have lighter traffic. And it's not just the heavy traffic, but the lighter cars, I'll call them. The trucks are the heavy ones and the cars are the light. But we had a lot of traffic. And what we found when we finally got I-11 done, and my fingerprints are all over that, when we finally got it done, businesses are thriving in Boulder City.
But those are people you want, not through traffic into wherever it's ultimately going to go.
Right.
Correct? But how about the growth? I mean, is there still a pulse beat that the residents don't want growth, or do they want growth?
I think if they want any growth, it's slow growth. And as I said, 12,500 when we got there, 15,000 now. They are comfortable with a slow growth. They're not comfortable with a major thoroughfare coming through Boulder City, but they're comfortable with a slow growth mentality. And that's what we're doing now.
Well, are you seeing any of the residents, because of the enormity of the major league sports and practice fields and everything that's come into Henderson, are you seeing a larger application for housing and apartments and things in Boulder City, or no?
I think there will never be enough in the Las Vegas area that will feed the need that's affordable. And I think that affordable concept is really critical right now, because you look at trying to buy a home right now, and what used to be right here
Reasonable.
is now right here. So that affordable concept is challenging. And Boulder City traditionally has been a little higher in the bracket of home prices because of the things you very well
But not
mentioned.
so transient. I always thought of Boulder City as a very, very stable population that wants to be there, very well connected, old families where the names recirculate and it stays. So you've not seen the huge escalation in price because the turnover isn't as bad as it might be down here or in Henderson, or is that not true?
No, that rising tide of prices affected everybody, including Boulder City. So yes, the prices in Boulder City went up just like they did everywhere. And now you're seeing probably some dampening down of those prices, but nonetheless, it's still expensive to buy a home anywhere.
Yeah,
And in Boulder
okay.
City is probably a little more expensive than down in the valley.
Apartments being built or no?
We don't have apartments being built.
So that's something which will hold. I'm going to go off the page and ask you something which I may get shot for, but your thoughts about the school district and reducing or cutting back and making municipalities, or asking municipalities, do they want to run their own school district? And assuming that you're part of the Clark County School District, or does Boulder City have its own school district?
It doesn't have its own school district now, obviously, and I'm not sure it's in a position to quote unquote be its own school district. And I think one of the things that we do well in Boulder City is we try to partner with Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas. I think the partnerships that we have and the relationships that we have are vital for everything that we do in Boulder City. In fact, we have the wildlife preservation. So if it weren't for Boulder City taking out literally square miles, of land,
Right.
we would not have been able to have the growth that we have had in Las Vegas. Anytime you build something, you have to put that tortoise that you found somewhere else. So we have been very, I call it good partners with the growth that's happening in order to be able to sustain the growth and be able to meet all the federal requirements. School districts are fascinating because I think everybody understands the schools in Boulder City are probably blessed with parental involvement.
Yes.
So, for instance, I have a teacher back in the day call me up and say, I was in my office in Boulder City, my doctor's office, doing my things that doctors do, and the teacher in Boulder City Junior High called me up and said, do you have any idea what your child is wearing today? That's code for, no, I don't. So I'll be down. So I go over to the school and I met with the principal and the vice principal and the teachers and the staff. And don't take the student out, we're doing testing. I said, okay, but I'll be back. But that illustrates the communication you have between the teacher and the parent. And they're not afraid to talk to a parent and say, this is what we can do. And I think that's why the schools are good, is because that relationship you have with the parents and the teacher and the principal. We know each other. We work together.
And because your community is by itself a smaller community, and therefore smaller generally means more involvement. I mean, I remember we have 4 children. I know you have 8. And our 3 sons were at Clark High School in the same time frame. And I remember getting a call from the computer, even in those days, Mrs. Goodman, your son is not, and this is a computer, is not in class. So I called back to the school and I said, which of my 3 sons? And it was a computer. I mean, I had to find out which one was missing and then find him. And it was really interesting because of the size of Boulder City. You have 1 high school, correct?
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, our high schools are much more in number. But anyway, it was really funny. I thought it was the one who was always in trouble, and it wasn't. It was the younger one that was caught, and but it wasn't from a teacher. And I think the smallness of Boulder City. So this is an issue with which we're dealing. I know there have been petitions signed to reduce the size of the school district, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's all about parental involvement. They're the children, you're the adult, and you have to set expectations. It's you who are to instill the basic social skills skills which should be followed through. And I know in my day I would never have gone home to my parents, and I'm sure the same for you, one, to embarrass them, two, to have them called to a school or whatever, because certainly I know that I would not have been a happy person. So what do you see for the future of Boulder City? I know this has gone so quickly and I feel terrible. So tell us about the future of Boulder City that you're looking forward to during your terms.
So I look for the citizens of Boulder City to continue to be integrated with the school district, integrated with the relationships we have with over the hill. I look for us to be partners with political partners, social partners with the people in Henderson, North Las Vegas, and you and I, we talk. I mean, we can talk, and that's the kind of thing we need to make sure we keep all of those channels open, because there are things that we can do and things that we can do together, and usually if you do things together, you do better.
Well, and we have so many things to attend to. Are you going to be sitting on any of the committees, the regional transportation? Are you, or as a member of council, because I know Boulder City has representation also at the LV, the Convention and Visitors Authority, the Regional Transportation and Flood? Or in particular, is there a passion from you as the mayor to be on, or don't you have enough time? Are you still practicing medicine?
Well, I'm literally retiring from Touro University as the Associate Dean of Clinical Education. So that'll be the end of this month. And then I'll probably be involved with the PA, the Physician Assistant Program. But bottom line is my wife's happy when I'm busy.
I love that, you're right.
I appreciate that. But that's what I do. And so we're going to continue to be involved, and I guess I may have lost the trend, but I love serving. I just love to do it.
Well, your whole life has been service, and we're all so fortunate, and absolutely all of us as mayors of all the municipalities and representation from the greater county, Clark County, to get together, be together on a regular basis so we can have those issues that we need and commonly agree upon to get before the legislature and make a difference.
And
but
yes,
for you,
I will be serving with you on the LVGEA.
Excellent.
The RTC, the Flood, and the Southern Nevada Health District.
Mrs. Hardy, you were so lucky I'll never be home. Anyway, I want to thank you at home for watching. Make sure to never miss an episode. Just scan our QR code on your screen to subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll see you at another time for another episode of Hello, Mayor.